Hello, welcome in. Happy Wednesday to everybody. This is the PHLY Phillies podcast. Shout out. Looks like maybe Mickey Durkin, the first one in the chat, commenting. But we got Chris in there and Dave P. We appreciate all you guys. Smash that like button while you're in here. A lot to get into today. Renee Washington, Tyler Zulli, myself, Jamie Lynch. I put out a quick reaction video last night of some of my favorite Rhys Hoskins memories. We'll get into some of those, but Rhys Hoskins obviously has moved on. The Hall of Fame class was announced. The Phillies actually did something.
Woo woo.
Wasn't incredibly exciting.
No.
We have a guest today. We have a Down on the Farm report. We have a guest that swing. We have a lot to get to, and chances are the odds of us keeping it within that hour are slim, but we'll do our best. So shout out to Jim and Spiral Out and Matt Deckard and everybody in the chat. Who is that? I can't read.
Lisette Morales. Welcome, Lisette.
Lisette, welcome in.
I knew, yeah.
Yeah, the bright lights and my failing eyes is a tough combination sometimes. But our own John Foley wrote a piece last night about Rhys Hoskins. You should check that out on allphly.com.
I see Jim saying that the piece was it was a very fitting article for
Yeah,
Rhys.
John did a really nice job.
Nice piece, yeah.
I saw it right before I went to bed. Around midnight it came out. So good hustle there by John getting that out. Rhys Hoskins signs a 2-year deal with the Milwaukee Brewers for $34 million. There is a 1-year opt-out, which a lot of people discussed as a possibility with him, kind of because it gives him that option to bet on himself. And $17 million a year is pretty nice coming off an injury. But if he exceeds expectations, he should be theoretically able to go out there and get more than $17 million. But the DH market is an odd one. You know, you still have guys like JD Martinez out there who's probably better than Rhys. But Rhys gets reunited with Matt Klentak with the Milwaukee Brewers. You know, it stings a little bit because Rhys was so likable. He was that emotional leader in the clubhouse, connected with the city really well, did some awesome work with the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, which was near and dear to him and his wife's heart. So he will be missed. But Renee, I think it's impossible to rule out a possible return here down the line. In a year or two, you know, Kyle Schwarber's got 2 years left. Maybe Rhys does 2 years in Milwaukee. Who knows? Rhys could be the DH of the Phillies in 2 years. Maybe even back in a year.
Listen, first things first, I want to say on this Wednesday, as we just go into the next 100, today marks 101 episodes for us. This is how we're starting the next 100 episodes of PHLY Phillies podcast. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I love the fact that we've got absolutely hammered listening on the radio. Please drive safely while you're in traffic. Lisa, Lisette, Dave, everyone, Mickey, Spiral Out, tuned in, joining the conversation already because it's exciting that we have some things to talk about. It's not the most thrilling, but we also didn't expect anything major. Now, we've been on Rhys Watch. Yeah, and for Rhys specifically, we've been on Rhys Watch. Of course, with Rhys Hoskins, the news being official, I think the first thing that I thought jumped out at me was, where the heck did Milwaukee come from? Because we've been hearing a lot about the Cubs and the Giants, and the Brewers just snuck on in there, slid on in that conversation quietly, and we hadn't really heard much. And I actually found myself kind of looking like, maybe we missed something. Where was Milwaukee mentioned? So out of left field, the Brewers come in, make a move. For Milwaukee sports fans in general, a wild 24 hours that they had yesterday between the Bucks firing and hiring of Doc Rivers. And then, so you're getting Philly all the way through. You're getting former Sixers head coach Doc Rivers and former first baseman Rhys Hoskins. So here we go. But also for, Milwaukee in general, you're getting such a great guy. As you talk about his work on and off the field, how he's been able to connect with the city. Obviously, everybody fondly remembers the bat spike NLDS last postseason in 2022. But for Rhys, it was so much more than that. He's always been that clubhouse guy. He's always been the guy that you can rely on to say the right things, do the right things. And even I know from a media perspective, not everybody's excited to see you. Not every player for any team for that matter is always excited to see you. And that's not Rhys Hoskins. He's always been that same consistent personality that's welcoming and kind. And then, of course, able to smash balls, which for the Brewers will be a huge addition for them. And that's great. You know, you're getting a good guy on and off the field, but also a guy that's going to be able to help. I mean, everything from being fourth in NL Rookie of the Year voting in 2017 to hitting 246, 332, 462 with 30 home runs in the 2022 run in the World Series. You know, Rhys Hoskins is such a great staple. And as you mentioned, anything's possible for the future. So I like the opt-out in that contract. But for now, to see him in Miller Park with Milwaukee is going to be weird. But I'm excited for this next chapter for Rhys. Just not too excited when they play the Phillies.
He'll be returning to Philadelphia the first week in June.
Yes.
And you know, that's going to become probably a quasi hot ticket. I know Absolutely Hammered in here says he's devastated. He's in mourning. We'll see if he can drag himself to that Milwaukee series. It is going to be weird to hear Dan Baker give batting for the Brewers, Rhys Hoskins. Man. And it's just going to sound gross and weird. But I just saw this tweet from Matt Adelphia on Twitter. The longest tenured active Phillies now. Obviously, Aaron Nola is number one. He is also the only player remaining who is teammates with Chase Utley.
Yeah,
which is weird.
That is very weird.
Sir Anthony Dominguez is now your second longest tenured Philly, followed by Ranger Suarez, JT Realmuto, and Bryce Harper at number 5, which is crazy to think about because it wasn't that long ago that Bryce Harper in 2019 issued in this new era of Phillies baseball. And on opening day against those stinking Braves, and part of the, you know, I've seen some comments on Twitter like, oh, average baseball player, good riddance. You know, everybody's got to be Tommy Toughnuts when it comes to making a comment. But one thing you can say about Rhys Hoskins is, of the guys in the Phillies lineup, he was one of the ones I felt most comfortable with at bat with something big on the line. In 2019, the Braves on opening day here at Citizens Bank Park walk Bryce Harper with a big middle finger to Rhys Hoskins, and they say, hey, we'll just deal with you instead of Bryce. And what does Rhys do? He issues in the new era of Bryce ball and hits a grand slam on opening day. Yeah. And it was just kind of like, wow, there's excitement back in Citizens Bank Park. Not only is Bryce here, but like this is a new team. This is a new era. They're going to be good and they're going to go for it. So, you know, we wish them the best.
And I think that's exactly why, to MBDBDBF's question about when did Rhys Hoskins become Derek Jeter, people in the town are acting like this is a fusion. It's because
it was a bad decade of Phillies baseball. And he was all we had.
Rhys Hoskins was one of those players that helped with the turning point of Phillies baseball. And now, to me, I think this is a time of, yes, we're going to be sad that Rhys is no longer with the Phillies, but also it feels like we're turning the page into a new chapter of Phillies baseball. Okay, last 2 seasons, World Series run, NLCS run, falling short, excited to get back into the playoffs, especially looking at how they got back into the playoffs in that incredible run to the World Series. That was like, ooh, we're back. And then this feels like this whole change, which is why we've been wanting more this offseason from the Phillies, feels like we're now hopefully taking that next step for the Phillies. We're going to see them take that next step in terms of, you know, just every aspect and maybe a deep run as well. So I think, to me, that's what makes it the most sad. It's kind of like you have to sometimes close a window to open a door. And I think this is what's happening here. It was time to move on from Rhys Hoskins, with obviously Bryce being everyday first baseman, and, you know, time to move forward. So it's sad news, but it's like a bittersweet moment that, okay, we now have an everyday first baseman that's number 2, according to Major League Baseball's current rankings, in Bryce Harper, and it's a change of the tide for the Phillies.
Yeah, you know, look, he was an 11 WAR player during his 6 years here. I think he ended, I read it last night when I did the reaction video, I think it was 148 home runs, 405 RBIs, and an 845 OPS in his 6 years here. You know, he wasn't like Willie Mays or Derek Jeter, MBD, but he was a guy, and we always connect with these guys that connect with the city, that just flat out get it. And him and his wife got it. You know, they lived in Fishtown. They were a part of the city. And I do think that stuff goes a long way in likability for a player. Like if you live across the bridge in Haddonfield or out on the main line, like,
Oh, yeah.
sure, like that's cool. You can do whatever you want. But when you live in the city and you like kind of connect with the heartbeat of the city, like that goes a long way. And Rhys was that. And from the clubhouse standpoint, you mentioned it earlier, like guys don't want to talk to the media
At all.
They don't really like
all.
the media. Baseball player, from my experience of being in the 4 locker
the
rooms,
worst athletes
are the
try to
worst
interview.
ones to deal with because like part of me gets it because you have such a long season and it's 162 games plus spring training. You have microphones in your face almost every single day. So you're talking about like a half a year to 200 days if you go into the postseason and spring training. You're talking about like 230, 40 days where media's around you in your locker. I think the locker room thing's a little weird.
It's extremely weird.
Yeah, like just have like a media room where like some people are
like
obligated.
step into
to go.
the media
I don't
room.
need to see Wes Helms's,
But that's
junk when I was back in the locker room in 2007. Like,
I know.
because some guys take it and run with it and make it uncomfortable
and that's their
on purpose.
opportunity to.
Yeah.
So, trust me.
So anyway,
that could be a whole other hour conversation. I can't stand
anyway, Rhys was the one that would always be accountable, always talk to the media. So maybe some other guys that really hated it, that didn't have to do it. So like that stuff goes a long way in the locker room. Last year, you saw Schwarber kind of take on that role with Rhys being out. But Nick Castellanos, I mean, to talk about his importance in the locker room, Nick Castellanos said he was fighting back tears when he tore his knee.
Well, I was going to say,
like his presence meant a lot to that clubhouse.
So I think the other key piece, and I know, Jen, you're talking about how it felt like Rhys helped usher in the era of superstars. Yeah, I mean, after some awful years, Rhys from 2018 to 2022, and I came across this stat and was like, oh, yeah, that you take for granted. 2018 to 2022 averaged 34 home runs per season. His numbers in that stretch, 241, 350, 483 slash line. He really helped usher in not only the superstar component, but also being the down-to-earth superstar. And then when he went down in spring training, that was the moment that had everybody emotional. So to be honest, I feel like what makes this even sadder is we didn't get a chance to have a final season with Rhys.
The final time we saw him in a Phillies uniform was the first pitch.
Exactly. And so that makes it even worse, in my opinion, because had we had some closure of this is the final season, it's time to move on, maybe there was a drop-off in his performance, maybe whatever, we literally saw his role get taken because of injury, and then Bryce stepping up as the superstar athlete he is and locking down first base. So between the ACL tear and Bryce Harper being phenomenal at first base, it forced our hand. This wasn't something that it was like, all right, you know what? It's time to move on from Rhys. So I think that's
MBD
what makes it a little bit.
Is really the Rhys Grinch here.
I've seen a number of people on social
media. Can you just move on, please?
I've seen a number of people with mixed responses to the news. Some similar to MBD, BDBS, saying like, why are we dwelling on this? But I think it's because we saw him.
He was the second longest tenured Philly.
He's 30 years old. He's still in a great spot in his baseball career. He goes down with an ACL, and now here we are a year later talking about him with the Brewers. So it's like a whole shift from that 2022 postseason of us, an iconic Rhys moment, to now he's not even here with the Phillies. Nobody expected that.
Yeah, I think my favorite Rhys memory, outside the obvious ones, opening grand slam and the bat spike, was when the Mets threw at him twice, high and inside, and then he jacked one into left field and took 37 seconds to round the bases. It was a great baseball middle finger to the Mets, and a great way to ingratiate yourself into Phillies fans' hearts is to basically say F the Mets. So Rhys did that. Now, John Foley, because we're doing our Down on the Farm report today on Emaarion Boyd, and John Foley actually pulled up, I thought this was funny to go back and read it, Rhys Hoskins prospect report in 2016. In 2016, Rhys was the number 23 prospect in the Phillies farm system. So it goes to show you like how much these prospect rankings fluctuate and change, and nobody knows anything. Baseball might be the hardest one of all of them to project. But here's what Baseball America said about Rhys Hoskins back in 2015. Minor league first basemen know the drill. If they want to advance, they must hit, and hit a ton. Hoskins, a 4th-round pick from Sacramento State in 2014, did just that in his first full season. His slash line was 319, 395, 518 with 17 home runs and 90 RBIs in 135 games at low A Lakewood and high A Clearwater. He ranked inside the top 20 among all-season minor league batters with 59 extra base hits and a .913 OPS. The Phillies credit Hoskins' success in part to an approach at the plate and a leg kick he added before the season. He still has a long way to go defensively at first base. Scouts see poor range, bad hands, and slow twitch athleticism with stiff body and actions, all of which hinders his playability in the field. He's a below-average runner as well, but he has a long track record of hitting now that includes a star turn in the 2013 Cape Cod League. After a solid second half at Clearwater, Hoskins will head to AA Reading in the 2016s. If that scouting report didn't fucking nail it on the head, then I don't know what scouting report did, because Rhys was always destined to be a DH. Now he finds himself in this weird DH marketplace. But yes, he was pretty much unplayable in the field. He was always meant for a DH, so the DH coming to the National League really gave Rhys Hoskins' career probably more life.
It did. And honestly, it just is a reminder that sometimes we are correct about prospects and sometimes not so much, but in this case, spot on with Rhys Hoskins.
That was
review
spot
that
on.
It's kind of weird. It's like looking now in the future, as you look back, it's like, wow, we watched all of that play out, actually. And that's exactly what Rhys's career has been.
One of the worst left fielders I've ever seen at a Major League Baseball level. And he was forced there because of injuries.
Yeah,
but
still,
I would take Kyle Schwarber over Rhys Hoskins in left field.
That's what I was going to ask you. If you like gun to your head, you got to pick one of them. Who you taking?
Kyle
no
Schwarber.
Hesitation.
I disagree.
It's
bad.
Do you remember how bad it was?
It was bad. It was really bad.
I'll take neither for 500, please.
Man, between Burrow, Rhys Hoskins, Schwarber, our defensive
I think the best defensive left fielder the Phillies have had was Vince Velasquez.
Oh,
You're probably not wrong. But it'll be a breath of fresh air, at least defensively, with Brandon Marsh in there this year. But yes, see you, Rhys. We'll see you the first week of June here at Citizens Bank Park, right before the Phillies get ready to head over to London with the Mets. So that'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
And of course, it reminds us that we are, it was a year ago that we were at this point of Rhys Hoskins tearing his ACL, because we're just 20 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. Of course, they officially start training February 14th, and we are 64 days away from the start of the season. Opening day, March 28th versus the Braves, will be here before we know it. And you know what else happens a lot quicker than you might realize? Buying a house and the process. And over at Mortgage CS, which stands for Mortgage Concierge Service, they do a great job as a white glove service to provide you with support that you need as you are looking to plan for your family and for your future. So it's hard trying to buy a house. It's a very difficult process. There's a lot of steps, and there's no playbook for it, but there is support for it. And over at Mortgage CS, they are an independent mortgage broker based right here in Philadelphia. They do a great job of giving you guys the access, the availability where you can reach out to them 24/7. They help educate you and empower you. They're giving you all the insight that you need, and they really try to alleviate the stress of the process of buying a house. So they want to make sure they're also helping their clients get ultra competitive rates, as well as being able to provide them with exceptional customer service. And over at Mortgage CS, not only do they do a good job helping you with the house buying process, but also just connecting with you personally. They want you to reach out to them. If you're upset about Rhys, or maybe not upset about Rhys, for those of you MBDBDF looking at you that are not as upset, it doesn't matter. You can reach out to Ben and Alec at any time.
Maybe you want to buy Rhys's place.
About it.
Maybe
you
Ben
are
and
looking
Alec
to buy
can get you in Rhys's house.
Maybe you feel like moving into a new house, and now you want to buy Rhys's house. Who knows? So when you hear the word mortgage, we want you to think of Mortgage CS and think of Ben and Alec. So you can save Ben's number, which is right on your screen for those of you that are watching live, or for podcast listeners, I'll read it off for you. 267-391-7425. Reach out any time of day, morning, afternoon, or night. You can also email ben@mortgagecs.com. Again, that's ben@mortgagecs.com. And any time of day, ask a question, have a conversation. You feel like chatting with a friend, Ben and Alec are those guys for you. So again, when you hear the word mortgage, think of Ben and Alec, think of Mortgage CS. And you can check out more information at mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started today. And this advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company SID number 1464766. You can visit mortgagecs.com for more information.
Yeah, and when Alec and Ben take care of you, explain the situation to you, and end up saving you some money, maybe with that extra cash, you find yourself with an itch to buy a new, I don't know, box of cards, a new hat, hoodie, or T-shirt. I would recommend you take those savings over to Wheelhouse Cards. They have 2 great locations in Wayne and Westchester, and they are our go-to sports card, gift, and apparel shop in the Delaware Valley. Their motto is a simple one, cards and community, because a love of sports unites us all. They carry all of your favorite card brands like Top Chrome Baseball and Mosaic Football. And if you've fallen out of the card game like I have, but you still have a love for it deep in your soul, these new cards these days are awesome. So go check out some of the stuff Wheelhouse has. They also have a ton of gear like T-shirts, hats, hoodies, and so much more from brands like Mitchell & Ness, 47 brand, Junk Food, Starter, Shive Vintage Sports. And if you're looking to grade your sports card collection, Wheelhouse offers PSA grading submissions. They also host a ton of different family-friendly events and birthday parties every single month. So stop into either of those stores in Wayne or Westchester. Open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. Use that code PHLY or just tell them PHLY sent you, and you'll get $10 off a purchase of $25 or more in store. Also, be sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Wheelhouse Cards. All right, we have a lot to get to. Kylee Sullenberger is going to be joining us in a little bit. We'll touch on it more with Kylee, but the Phillies did make a move yesterday. I'm hardly excited about it. I think the dude kind of sucks, but we'll find out. The big news last night, which led me down the rabbit hole of watching Ken Burns baseball, which then kept me up to be awake for the Rhys Hoskins news, was the Hall of Fame class announcement yesterday. Now, the 3 guys that get in, Adrian Beltre, obvious. We all knew that one was coming. Tyler and I talked about this yesterday, Renee. I think you can make a case that Adrian Beltre is somehow one of the most underrated baseball players ever. Like just a phenomenal player.
Oh, yeah.
Todd Helton, our friends at DNVR, I know we're very happy to get Todd Helton in the Hall. And then Joe Mauer makes the Hall. We'll get into all the percentages of what the Phillies did, but I'm going to steal a couple fun facts about those 3 from the great Jason Stark and his piece on The Athletic, because Jason is he's one of the best out there. And he actually just got elected to the National Sports Writer and Sportscaster Hall of Fame. This guy just, joins Hall of Fames left and right. So in regards to Adrian Beltre, now, Tyler, are you sitting down? Do you have some cold water? Because these baseball facts are they get a little hot. Okay.
I got,
you got a cigarette ready?
Computer wipes and WD-40.
All right. Somebody get Tyler a cigarette.
And hand sanitizer. We're good.
What?
All right. So Adrian
he asked me what's around me. That's what's around me.
Adrian Beltre joins.
I got a tape measure, too.
He joins the 3,000 hit 5 Gold Glove Club. And these are the people he shares that honor with: Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, Derek Jeter, Tony Gwynn,
Insane,
Ichiro Suzuki, who's on the ballot next year and should be 100% unanimous entry, but he probably won't because some dick writer will probably not vote for him. Carl Yastrzemski, Al Kaline, Dave Winfield, and Adrian Beltre are the only members to join the 3,000 hit 5 Gold Glove Club. The only 2 infielders in that list, Adrian Beltre and Derek Jeter. Phenomenal player.
Yeah, and with that, Adrian Beltre also became one of just 5 Dominican-born players that were elected into the Hall of Fame. And this group is phenomenal. You've got Juan Marchal,
is Manny Dominican?
Pedro Martinez, David Ortiz, and Vladimir Guerrero.
Vlad is was awesome.
Lots
no batting gloves.
Lots of
and Ortiz
honors
took
there.
steroids. Like, this is like the problem with the Hall of Fame being so hypocritical. And like Gary Sheffield's not in, but David Ortiz is. Like, what is the line? What is the mark of demarcation? It's so stupid. Now, this is from Jason Stark in regards to Todd Helton. I had a couple text conversations yesterday with friends where my one buddy was like, dude, Todd Helton is not a Hall of Famer. And I was like, I agree that he's like right on the doorstep of it. I think the Hall of Very Good in the Hall of Fame. But Jason Stark did vote for him. And this is what he had to say about Todd Helton making the Hall. He said, as I wrote in November, Helton spent 17 seasons in Colorado compiling a slash line of 316, 414, 539, and 953. Now here comes the complete rundown of all the hitters whose careers began since 1930 who can beat that. Ted Williams, Stan Musial. That's it. And the thing about Todd Helton was his, a lot of people say, well, he played in Colorado, the thin air. His splits away from Colorado were almost as good. So I think that kind of put him over the top there.
Yeah.
Jason says, toss in those 3 Gold Gloves. His back-to-back seasons with 100 extra base hits, 5 All-Star appearances, and the face of the franchise bonus points. This man could have been a Hall of Famer on the first ballot.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it that I actually felt for with guys like Helton that, you're waiting year after year. He was 11 votes shy last year.
Yeah.
Gets in, did his iconic fist pump, the one that many fans will remember that are Colorado fans from September of 2007. And he actually was even saying, like, I didn't think the phone was going to ring. I didn't expect it to ring. So his 6th year on the ballot, and Helton finally gets in. So although there might be some question around whether or not he should get in, which I always just think it's weird if you're not in the first time and you're not in the second time, the third, the fourth, the 5th time that you get in the 6th time. But nevertheless, it was a nice video even of watching him get in.
Yeah, and then Joe Mauer, the hometown kid from St. Paul, arguably is one of the better number 1 overall picks of all time. Him and Chipper Jones probably lay stake to that claim.
Ken Griffey Jr.
And Ken Griffey Jr. He's one of them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I wasn't saying they were the only 2, but
so they're actually the only 3 number 1 overall picks to go into the Hall of Fame. Those 3.
Okay, yeah.
It was just Griffey for a really long time.
Yeah,
Chipper got in, and now Mauer's 3rd.
Yeah. So here's what Jason Stark had to say about Joe Mauer's case. As the best catcher, period, of his generation, here's where Mauer ranked in WAR in his 10 seasons as the team's primary catcher versus every other catcher who was active in all 10 of those seasons. It wasn't even close. Joe Mauer posted a 44.6 WAR. The next closest was Victor Martinez, who posted 28.1, followed by Yadier Molina at 27.6, and Jorge Posada at 20 even. So Joe Mauer, when you're the best player of your position of a generation, you're probably going to get in, and that's kind of what pushed Joe Mauer over the top there.
And Joe Mauer, just the 3rd catcher to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's among an elite group, of course, also in the first year of eligibility. So that was awesome to see. It's something else awesome to see going back to Todd that I know was mentioned in the chat, and I looked at it yesterday. I was like, huh? The story of Todd Helton and Peyton Manning, because they were teammates on the Tennessee football team. Yes, and Peyton was the narrator and helped make the video to congratulate him on social media. And Peyton Manning was Todd's backup quarterback.
I knew that, actually.
I just love the way that sports work, because there's a lot of talented athletes that could have gone into a different sport or pursued a different sport at a professional level. So that was a neat one to see for Todd Helton. But as we talked about, there were names that were not on the list that were very controversial. I know there's been a breakdown of
Billy Wagner voting. Got screwed.
Billy Wagner, definitely one of the main one.
And Gary Sheffield got screwed too. I think those are the 2 big screw jobs. Chase Utley's going to get in. We'll Jimmy Rollins probably not. Bobby Abreu, those hopes and dreams are over. But I think Sheffield and Wagner are the 2 that
5 votes for Wagner. 5 votes. It's insane that he fell 5 votes short. But as you mentioned, we did see Rollins. His numbers increased from 9.4% to 14.8%. So he's moving up.
He's not going to make it.
That's not a big move up, though, guys, and it's not encouraging at all.
Because next year you have CC and Ichiro, who are going to be close to unanimous. So, like, it all kind of, like, a big part of making the Hall of Fame is, like, how good is your class that you're
right,
and, like, how good are the classes behind you, because Ichiro is going to eat up potential Rollins votes and CC Sabathia next year. So, like, part of it is the class you're a part of.
Right. Well, Chase Utley ended up with 28.8% of the votes. It's kind of wild when you see the breakdown of, and I just lost the tab for it, but you see the breakdown of how many votes each guy had and how close they were and how far some of them were. because as you mentioned, it doesn't get easier. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be on an extra and my numbers will magically move up depending on who else is coming behind you. So very interesting, but we finally got our trio. All
right, so Tyler's note on our screen here says 2 active players drafted #1 overall will likely go into the Hall of Fame.
Now, there's obviously a caveat to this. You could say,
Bryce Harper.
You could say, hey, Adley Rutschman's really freaking good. Maybe one day, but it's so much to play out
but
still.
Bryce Harper looks like he's got a really good shot.
So Bryce Harper's one to
that's playing now.
Currently playing. I think that this guy, if this guy's not a Hall of Famer when his career is over, I'd be really shocked.
AL or NL?
Currently in the AL. Was drafted by a National League team.
Okay. How about he's actively playing?
Currently in the AL.
I don't know. We got
Julio Rodriguez wasn't
He was
an
not
international signing, or I don't know where he was from.
He wasn't the #1 overall pick.
I don't know.
And he wasn't drafted by an NL
Garrett
team.
Cole?
Garrett Cole's the other one.
Oh, right. Garrett Cole.
Back-to-back years, too. 2010, 2011
Yeah,
for
so
Harper
Bryce and
Cole.
Garrett, I would say, are
That's 2 locks.
And of course, Mickey
close to
Moniak.
locks. And who?
And Mickey Moniak, of course.
Yeah, of course. He's coming around any day
Lock,
now.
yeah.
Yeah,
But those 2 guys, I mean, you're probably going to jump from 3 #1 overall picks to 5 in the Hall of Fame within a 2 to 4 year window.
I mean, Bryce
like
Harper,
when those 2 guys retire.
Bryce will be he'll be in that 96% range. Like, he's a first ballot type of guy. He's going to have multiple MVPs. Hopefully he gets a ring that really puts him over the top. Before we get to Kylee Sullenberger, I just wanted to read these 2 Jason Stark nuggets that kind of put into perspective how much Gary Sheffield and Billy Wagner got screwed. Now, Gary Sheffield did admit to taking the Balco cream. Him and Barry Bonds were friends, so he admitted to it. His story never changed. He was upfront about it. In an era where, a good majority of the league cheated, Gary Sheffield, was upfront about it, and I think that's what's costing him. But his numbers, 509 home runs, almost 2,700 hits, a slash line of 292, 393, 514, 907. Here's everybody in history that's had that career so far. Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Jimmy Fox, Mel Ott, and Barry Bonds. That's it. Gary Sheffield got screwed. When it comes to Billy Wagner, these numbers are eye-popping. Opponent's batting average, Billy Wagner, had the lowest since 1900 for a career. Opponents batted 187 against Billy Wagner. His whip for his career was the best by any left-handed pitcher in the live ball era at a sub-1 whip at .998. That's wild. His ERA, 2.31. Again, best by a left-handed pitcher in the live ball era, and the one that just absolutely ices his case as a Hall of Famer. His Ks per 9 innings pitched, 11.92, the best in history.
Insane.
Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer. This process is stupid. Now, Gary Sheffield, it was his 10th time on the ballot, so he is done. There's a really good chance the Veterans Committee could elect him in the coming years because he was only, 5 votes short?
Yeah, well,
4 maybe for him?
Billy Wagner, so you need 289 votes, and Billy was 5 votes short with 284. Gary had 246.
Yeah.
So he
Gary's
was
close enough.
43 votes.
Billy
short.
will get in because he still has more chances.
Right.
Gary is done with those chances. Now he depends on the Veterans Committee.
Right.
But because he was so close, theoretically, he's got a pretty good shot of getting in.
And then next
but it feels
on the
cheapened
list,
when you have to do that.
Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran
Beltran's
at
not,
237 and
Jones
220, and then A-Rod at 134 and Manny Ramirez at 125, Chase at 111. So it is a drop off from Billy, Gary, Andrew, and even Carlos to then that next tier from Alex Rodriguez down the list.
Yeah, A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame. Just put him in the Minute Maid Juicers wing. And, we already determined that yesterday. You can make some money off of it, get a nice little Mott's apple juice, endorsement for Cooperstown up there. But, yeah, the Hall of Fame discussion is – I find it to be a fun one. I think it's stupid that, a lot of writers have agendas here that do prevent some guys from getting in. And the steroid era is the biggest one. Billy Wagner, though, you can't really explain it.
Well,
All
let's
right.
see what our guest thinks, Jamie. I know in the chat there's some questions of who's going to be joining us from Carpet is Cool from our guest co-host Jen. Let's bring her in. Kylee Sullenberger, right here from Philly, does a tremendous job with all the coverage for all the different networks. Fired Up Sports. You're, of course, on Bell Smasher podcast, Philadelphia Sports Network, doing all the great work. Podcasting, writing, producing. Kylee, welcome in. We're going in on the Hall of Fame thoughts. A lot has happened in the last few hours, or last day, I should say. What are your thoughts on the Hall of Fame final trio, the ones that got in and the ones that did not get in?
The ones that got in are deserving, but I'm surprised that Rollins didn't get a higher percent. And it's concerning there. I'm not concerned about Chase Utley. Chase Utley's gonna get in. That's a good percent for his first year. It's a tough system, but I mean at this point, it's not gonna change.
No, it's not. It's more than it's just a flat out stupid system. Where look, there's lots of eras of baseball, and this is kind of what took me into Ken Burns' baseball last night. There's the live ball era, the dead ball era, the integration era, cheating scandal era. Steroid era is a part of the game. It's a history of the game. So some of these guys getting prevented out of the hall because the league. Look, the league was in trouble in the mid-'90s. People were going to the NFL and NBA at higher rates. Michael Jordan was in his prime run, and baseball was just like losing popularity. And one of the things that saved it was Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire's home run chase. And baseball knowingly turned a blind eye to the steroid era. And I think it's just hypocritical of baseball to turn their back on these steroid users.
That's a fair point, because it wasn't a problem back then, because everybody was pretty much doing it.
50% probably, yeah.
Yeah. I think what's crazy is the fact that some people still didn't do too well.
Yeah.
Even though they did.
So, Kylee, the big story of the day is Rhys Hoskins signs with the Milwaukee Brewers. One of the most beloved Phillies on the roster. He'll be coming back to Citizens Bank Park in the Milwaukee uniform the first week of June. What was your personal favorite Rhys Hoskins memory during his 6 years here?
Oh man, there's so many. It has to be the bat spike. I know that's a popular one and that's the typical one, but I was there for that game. It was the first home playoff game in Philadelphia for over a decade, and he was coming off a game where that error in game 2 was really costly. So, and he dropped a ball in the inning or two before. So, for him to just smack that home run to pretty almost Ashburn Alley was, incredible. It has to be that one.
That was my favorite one for sure. And I agree, because it's not just about the bat spike, it's also about the moments that led up to it. Now, also, Kylee, as we all know, the Phillies have been quieter this offseason ever since the Aaron Nola signing. We haven't heard much until yesterday. We finally got some sort of a move as the Phillies signed Kolby Allard. Now, that was announced that the left-hander will be joining with a 1-year deal. I believe it's a $1 million with $250,000 in incentives. And Allard, at 26 years old, is going to add to the rotation depth. Are you excited by this move? Do you feel like this is? He's had an injury-prone stretch in his career. We've seen some good numbers from him at times, but not one that jumps off the page at you. What were your thoughts with the Kolby Allard news breaking yesterday?
Originally, I was like, wow, the Phillies actually did something, and then it was more of a who. So, looking more into it, it's just a depth piece at this point. Hopefully, it turns into something more, but I just see it as a deep depth piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kylee, the single game tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. for Phillies fans. Is there any games you're circling on the calendar that you really want to get to? Because 10 a.m. tomorrow, people can buy individual games for the upcoming season.
I'm definitely going to opening day. I already have tickets for the Brewers game when Rhys comes back. So that's 2 there.
When did you get those? You already had them? That was quick.
No, I got him as soon as the news broke. I was like, I'm going. As soon as the news broke, I hopped on and found him and got him.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's the thing. There's
Pretty
going to be
cheap.
so many, there's going to be so many more people doing the same thing, just as you of, okay, this is when Rhys is coming back. June, I'll be there. And it's going to be a weird moment, but it's going to be a lot of emotions, I feel like. I'm expecting a standing ovation of some sort.
Oh yeah, there has
For
to
sure.
be. There has to be. He was the bright spot in a very dark period of Phillies history. Like, finally a prospect was working out. He deserves all the love he's going to get that day.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun moment for sure, because it's been one of those things we've been wondering where Rhys is going to be playing next year. Chicago, will he be with the Giants? And now Milwaukee pops up out of nowhere. And so that's going to be interesting in itself. My last question, Kylie, before we let you go, is how are you feeling about the Phillies overall running it back, essentially? Of course, Kolby Allard added into the mix, as we talk about and as we all know, just an additional arm, bullpen piece. But how are you feeling with the Phillies as we are just 20 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting in February? How are you feeling about this roster so far, just essentially running it back for next year?
I'm not really opposed to running it back. I mean, with back-to-back NLCS appearances has to account for something, but I was hoping they would do more. Maybe in the bullpen or something like that. I mean, there's still arms they can get. I mean, there's obviously resetting the Renzen, which is probably not a favorable option, but it's an option there. And they do have options that I hope they try to go after, because everybody's year older. You're not guaranteed to have the same success. So you always got to try to improve.
For sure.
Well, Kylie, we appreciate you hopping on with us and spending some time with us here on PHLY, the Bell Smashers podcast. We can find you on Twitter and all that good stuff. So keep up the good work, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, see you, Kylie.
And honestly, I have to say, I love the fact of the Bell Smashers podcast. The name of it is awesome in general, but it's all female, which I love.
Go, girl.
Okay. I know Jen in the chat is one of the co-hosts. Kylie,
oh,
Jen,
hello, Jen.
They do such a great job
yes,
of
I
their
know
coverage.
Haley that works over there as well. So
Exactly. So I love that. And of course, Fired Up Sports, who we've had a couple guests on now from Fired Up Sports, doing a good job. So always great when we, there's so many people out here in the city covering the squad, and we actually have things to talk about, like Ken Giles, Jamie.
Yes. So obviously the Kolby Allard stuff, before we get to Ken Giles, former first-round pick, still only 26 years old. The reason they go out and get him, and by the way, he's only guaranteed $375,000. If he's in the majors for long enough, he gets the $1 million, and then there's incentives on top of that. I guess they feel as though it's another reclamation project / 6-starter middle relief type of guy. You throw kind of a wide net on those types of guys.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost you financially. You're not tied to anything. And the big reason that I think, as Matt Gelb pointed out, was he still has minor league flexibility. So you can send him down. It's just one of those types of moves that makes sense.
Yeah, he's got some upside, as you mentioned. So the official details, as Matt Gelb had pointed out, that $1 million rate in the majors with a $125,000 incentives, and then, as you talked about, $375,000 in the minors. But to me, I've heard upside, upswing, positives, potential, development. He's had some injuries. There's been some things that have been concerning. So hopefully this is the time.
He stinks, though. I mean, he stinks. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it.
He played with the Braves and the Rangers.
A north of 6 ERA, like nothing really to get too excited about. But they have, turned garbage into gold from other teams with, you look at Alvarado, you look at Jeff Hoffman, you look at some of these guys, and Caleb Cotham is really well respected around baseball. So, I mean, it makes sense. I'm not going to
6 seasons between the Braves and the Rangers where he's tried to take that next step to establish himself as a consistent pitcher in the majors, and maybe Caleb can help him become that man. Who knows? Hopefully his back injuries are not an issue, but there's a move, guys. There's a move. Listen, we said
you
yesterday.
excited yet?
Are you entertained?
Yeah, are you not entertained?
We talked about we would just like to see something, and we didn't mean that literally. I guess next time to be a little bit more specific, Jamie.
Yeah.
We'd like to see something that's a right now plug-in piece that's going to be established already that doesn't need to develop in potential. That's what we'd like to see, guys. That's it. Let's be more specific this time.
So this other piece of news I thought was pretty interesting
yeah.
because I missed it last Friday, and John Heyman was reporting that last Friday in Phoenix, Ken Giles, we know Ken Giles, was traded to Houston here and had a pretty good 2 or 3 year run down in Houston. He threw for teams last Friday in Phoenix. No word on if the Phillies had representation there that I've seen yet. They may have, they may not. But according to John Heyman and Ken Giles' agent, this is actually from Ken Rosenthal, excuse me. He's thrown just 4 1/3 MLB innings in the last 3 years and just 8 in the last 4 years. But per Ken Rosenthal, Giles' agent says the 33-year-old is healthy and ready to resume his major league career.
Jamie.
Again, I don't mind bringing him in as a camp body, but I don't want to bring him in with any expectations that he can be somebody to be counted on. But if you bring him in your system for a month, you see him down in Florida, if you see enough there and maybe think he can stay healthy, I don't know. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
So, in 2022,
because it's not going to cost you any money.
In 2022, he pitched 4 1/3 inning. In 2020, he pitched 3 2/3 inning. And the last time he actually had significant innings was in 2019 with 53. So as you mentioned, it's been a while. He's 30. He's also 33 years old. I think I'd be a little bit different about this if he was like 27, 28, or just under 30. 33 is not that old. Not that I'm saying it's an old age, but for sports specifically, as an athlete, it's old when you talk about the fact we're now mentioning 4 years where you haven't actively been in the routine of the majors consistently enough. So to just jump back in, it's great to want to play. And I've as someone that retired very young and wishes I could play some more, I think there's nothing wrong with giving it one last hoorah. And why not go out there, go to Phoenix, let some teams see you pitch and see what you can do. But his numbers with Seattle and Toronto weren't great on top of that.
I mean, it's just one of those moves you make that doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. Maybe he can be healthy. Chances of him making the 40-man
could this
probably
be
pretty slim to non-existent, but the pedigree's there.
You know, I'm gonna take a page out of one of your friends' books, Mr. Keanu Reeves and the Replacements. Is this the baseball version of like?
Well, he's not 100 miles Giles anymore. You know, like he's probably at best 90.
Is this the baseball version?
Yeah, 92, 93 mile an hour Giles
of the
now.
Replacements?
So, you know, we'll see. Interesting. I just bring it up because I did think that was interesting, and if I had a hunch, I would think the Phillies would at least look at him. Because of their past relationship and him being in the system. Now, we did mention this with Kylee there. The single game tickets going on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. Heads up to anybody that wants to take a shot at opening day tickets or Rhys Hoskins tickets. Our friends over at NBC Sports Philly, Corey Seidman, in his piece, I was reading a lot last night, pointed out some of probably the bigger individual game tickets that people will be circling for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Some of those include, obviously, the home opener versus the
March
Atlanta
28th.
Braves. The world champion Texas Rangers are coming to town in late May. The National League Championship Series rematch versus those stinking Diamondbacks will be in late June. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers come into town for a 3-game series in mid-July. Those will undoubtedly be hot tickets.
I'm not going to lie. I think...
You want to go see Shohei?
For sure.
Yeah.
For show.
For show. Hold
I
up
think
a sign.
that's the first series that jumps out at me that's like, I have to be there.
Yeah, that's going to be a hot ticket for
Of course, the opening weekend's huge.
Yeah, opening day
is awesome. And we will be there. We will be there. But
a 3-game series, July 29th to July 31st against the Yankees. The Death Star and Juan Soto will be coming down to town. A 3-game series with the Houston Astros and now Josh Hader from August 26th to the 28th. and a late season 4-game series with the Braves, bringing you into the month of September. So those are some of the highlights of tickets you can get tomorrow. And of course, Rhys is going to be here right before the Phillies go to London the first week of June. So that'll be a
add that
fun
to
one.
the list. That's a good one.
Yeah, and let me just circle back to Rhys 1 second, because Tyler did a little homework assignment, and I don't want to waste his work. And we didn't get to it earlier. I texted Tyler this morning. I said, "Hey, sicko, can you make a projected Milwaukee Brewers lineup now that Rhys Hoskins is over there?" So this is what Tyler came up with. And again, this is just a projection, not obviously their lineup, but Tyler's usually pretty good at this stuff.
Now this was outsourced.
This was outsourced. Somebody else already has this.
No, well, this was a this was a compilation of my thoughts plus
Last year's lineup.
People who know more than me, like Brewers podcasters, and who have already put their thoughts out.
So if we were in Milwaukee,
for me.
what would the call letters be?
Would it be milk?
WK? Like
You
MIWK?
have to have a vowel in there, even though there's anti-vowels.
Yeah,
MWLK?
and WLK.
No, but you can't switch the L and the W.
MLWK.
Spelling, guys. Welcome into MLWK Brewers.
So here's what's potentially your 2024
Sounds like
Brewers
Dr.
lineup.
King's. It's Dr. King's initials.
Yelich. So Rhys, they do think is going to play first base, huh? And Yelich is the DH.
That's the plan.
I guess.
I
I
mean,
mean,
for now.
have fun with that.
because
Milwaukee.
if you put Rhys in the DH spot, then you're having to move probably Mitchell out of left so Yelich can play left, and there's a lot of moving parts, and it seems more simplistic just to put Hoskins at first.
Yeah, so there's your look, but Rhys Hoskins will be in the middle of that order. Obviously, Jackson Churio is one a lot of baseball fans are going to be paying attention to this year.
And by the way, I don't expect him to start the year in the 3-hole. That's
Probably not. No.
That's more of a projection for a guy that you've paid $80 million to a guy that's not played Major League Baseball yet. He better be hitting in the top 4 of your lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's what a possible Brewers lineup looks like there, with Rhys in the middle of the order. All right, let's go down on the farm. We have an interesting prospect today. Emaarion Boyd is roughly all over the Phillies prospect list. He's been as high as 13 on some. I've seen him as low as 22, 23 on some others. He fluctuates anywhere between basically 13 and 23 because he's an interesting prospect. And I say that because he might be one of the fastest players in all of the minor leagues. It's not very often on the scout scale of things that you see a guy with speed of 70, potentially an 80. He is a Florida high school kid. He is now 6'1". He's grown 2 or 3 inches since they've drafted him. Slender build at 177. Now, I think the thought was originally that he was going to be a center fielder, and this is where he becomes a little bit of an issue. Center field, his glove is good. His route running to fly balls is not good, according to all the scouts. So, do you put him in a corner outfield? Well, he doesn't really have the pop or the power or the contact you need from a corner outfield. So he's in a tough spot between corner outfield and center field. I think his best route to the majors would be to make it work in center field. But he's 20 years old still, so still a lot of time to develop in the system. Played low A last year, 91 games, a 262 batting average, an impressive 366 on-base percentage. Only had that 1 home run, 36 RBIs. He's a 70-run tool player, which is almost never seen. He did have 56 stolen bases last year, got caught stealing 18 times. So, like, it's they're trying to harness his speed into to become a better baseball player. It seems like he's just one of these freakish athletes that they're trying to make become a baseball player. He's obviously a baseball player, but like if you're taking bad routes and you're getting stolen with that speed at that high of percentage, like you got to work on some stuff. So he's an interesting prospect, athletic as hell. Pretty good numbers with terms of on base, although some scouts have pointed out he did get hit by, I think, 18 or 19 pitches last year, which kind of inflates that a little bit. But he does have a good eye in the strike zone. He's not a hacker. I think he swings at like 46% of pitches. So he appears to have a decent eye.
Yeah, for Boyd as a fast base runner, he was ranked coming out of high school 66 overall, 15 for outfielders, and coming out of Batesville, Kenzias is his middle name actually. Coming out of Batesville, Mississippi, he was number 1 overall for both. So has had a lot of youth success, I should say. But I think a big part of that is because he's been a freakish athlete. And I've said this before about prospects. The important thing to keep in mind for these guys coming out of high school or even out of college is a lot of them have been able to rely on their natural talent of their speed or their hitting skills and haven't had coaches that have refined that. And I get that vibe from him. I actually think I'm kind of in between. I know you guys are talking with Vince about this, and you guys were kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm somewhere in the middle because I think it's always great when you can get some talent that's a little bit more raw around the edges, but has the skill set to be able to make strides. So he needs to add power to his game. His defense and base running definitely adds value, though. He's already bulked up a little bit. They've talked about him putting on a little bit more weight since he's a little bit slender. His grading for his different categories is a 50 for hits, 40 for power, run at a 70, arm 45, field 55, and overall 45. And not a lot of high drafted or not a lot of high school players coming out of Mississippi have been able to make it to the majors. I mean, there's that whole state has not provided a ton of baseball talent. Austin Riley is one of them that's come out of Mississippi that's done really well, but there's been a huge gap. So reports have indicated he fits the mold of Billy Hamilton as a speedster with the same questions about offensive impact. He played well enough in the showcase circuit and in his senior year to attract the Phillies' attention, which is why they took him 11th in the 2022 draft. So obviously known for his speed.
11th round.
I'm sorry, yes, 11th round. Huge difference. Huge difference. 11th round.
Yeah.
Just 11 overall, guys.
But with baseball,
11th
it's like,
round.
it doesn't
what
matter.
Even is
A good player can come from anywhere.
Right. So speed and ability is the biggest things that have been highlighted for him. Short and quick right-handed swing, which does put the ball in play. Does rarely strike out, but as you mentioned, there's other reasons why he's not striking out as much, such as getting hit by a lot of pitches.
Yeah, Mickey Durkin says what I said to Tyler.
Some understanding in some areas of his game.
Before the show, he sounds like a healthy Roman Quinn.
One of the comps that Fangraphs used was Nyjer Morgan, and if he becomes Nyjer Morgan and he's a utilizable bench piece, that's fantastic. But the thing with Nyjer Morgan is he played almost a decade and was like a 270-ish, maybe even 280. I'll go double check his numbers. He was a career 282 hitter. Now, obviously his sample sizes were sometimes not large, but that guy was a 282 hitter. I'm not sure Boyd ever becomes a 282 hitter. So to comp him to a guy like Morgan,
yeah, it's pretty good in today's baseball.
I think that's. I don't know if Boyd's able to achieve what Nyjer Morgan did over a 7-year career.
Not to mention, we've heard this song and dance before, guys, that he's a great, speedy center fielder, has long-term future in center field because of that, has improved his instincts in tracking fly balls, but his ceiling is that of a speedy table setter if he can translate the strength gains to impact at the plate.
Well,
sound familiar?
Here's
We've
the concern.
heard this before.
He had the second lowest exit velocity of all minor league players last year. He does not hit the ball hard. He has a 60% ground ball rate, which can be fine if you're Ichiro. But when you're connecting on, that few of pitches that weekly or meekly, I guess I should say, it's reason for big concern. And I think he only had 14 extra base hits all of last year. So, yeah, speed's great, but like you need something else to go with it.
Yep.
His fielding does sound like it can be good, but again, you're not going to have the bat to play corner outfield. You're kind of pigeonholing yourself into center field play. And to be an everyday center fielder, he'll have to probably eclipse Johan Rojas, but you're going to have to improve that bat. And look, he's exciting, he's intriguing, he's athletic. you obviously take shots on kids like this, but I'm not going to go after reading all the scouting reports and reading up more on him. Definitely a kid I'd like to go to the, they project he could make the Jersey Shore team this year after Clearwater last year. So he's a kid I'd love to go get some eyes on this year, and maybe we'll do a road trip up to Reading and Jersey to look at him. Exciting. Again, one of these kids you kind of circle, but I'm not going to go put all my eggs in Emaarion
I know
Boyd's
Spiral
basket.
Out saying, sounds like a track star. Yeah, I mean, the Phillies, a lot of what the reports have said between all of what we shared and what has been read is the fact that they are encouraged by his speed, but they know that they need to work on his at-bats and getting him to drive the ball more, getting him stronger, getting him to bulk up. So a lot of potential. A lot of potential, it seems like, but some major areas that need work as we talk about with his hits. Welcome in Funk Fit, nice to or Plunk Fit. I'm sorry, that's an L. Excuse me.
Funk
nice
Fit.
to have you here, but Funk Fit sounds cool too. Our other studio actually does have desks, so when you watch our show more, make sure you hit that thumbs up button while you're here. We're happy to have you here. We do have different looks, so this setup.
Tyler told us yesterday the thumbs down counts too.
Or you can thumbs down it if you don't like.
Sure.
I have to tweak that. The thumbs down doesn't count, but the thumbs down doesn't hurt.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think,
valid.
I think YouTube had at one point it did hurt, and I think they were like,
we need to fix this.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
right,
well, welcome
we
in
appreciate all of
nonetheless,
you.
because we do have multiple setups, multiple studios. This is our more casual, laid-back set, and the other one's a desk setup. So I love the comment, love the insight. We're there.
All right, so
Let's
daily
do it.
positivity falls on me today. This is number 17 on our 24 days of positivity.
Wow.
So we're getting near the end here, people. It's getting tough. But I said it yesterday in kind of passing, and I jotted it down right away.
Smart, because you already had yours. You did your homework early, overachiever.
I did. I think the defensive improvements via subtractions between Rhys and Kyle Schwarber are going to possibly contribute to an extra win or two this year. Like, I really think...
Wait, can you repeat that?
I think the defensive subtractions of Rhys and Schwarber are going to contribute to an extra win or two.
There we go. There it was. There it was.
What?
You tweaked it and you didn't even realize. You did a whole lot of possibles, possibly contribute and possible and maybe.
Yeah, it's possibly. I mean, I can't guarantee
we're manifesting. No, we are. We are. We're manifesting.
It's going to contribute to an extra win,
Jamie.
maybe even two this year. But those are two, important defensive positions, first base and left field, and we stunk at those positions.
Yeah.
So I think the team's going to improve defensively overall.
I like it.
I know they're going to improve defensively overall, which will help them become a better team. And therefore, I think those two positions could be the difference between two extra wins or not. So I really think improving at first and left field is a major upgrade for this team and a reason they'll be better this year.
Yeah, as Neil is saying in chat, addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
And I like it. Man, say it with your chest. It's gonna happen, guys.
It's
gonna happen.
So they're
Addition
gonna
by
be better.
subtraction. That's a good positive thought. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've watched some really bad defensive teams lately. So I do think that's going to be better this year. And I think Trey Turner will also be better at shortstop than he was this year.
Ooh,
so you could make the case that three of your most important defensive positions are, going to have major upticks this year.
Yeah, and with those improvements, the Phillies just need minor improvements all around. There's nothing that needs to be a major overhaul. So you have minor tweaks.
Bohm's improving.
First base,
Stott is
third
awesome.
base, outfield.
Castellanos didn't make an error last year.
Cassie's not making
The only
errors.
right fielder in baseball.
Minor, right. Continue that, please, Nick.
And your boy,
Yoro.
I mean,
You
if
said it. You even called him Yoro. So there it is.
If he wins the job from day one, I mean, he's going to break defensive metrics in Major League Baseball. So
I do wonder what it's going to be like having him, if he gets the job from day one, a full season or a longer term of Yoro at center field.
I mean, shit. All these defensive improvements, maybe it's worth like 3 to 5 wins. This is going to be
that number, not just 1 and 2. You forgot some. I mean, we're literally talking first
really
base,
good defensive
shortstop,
team.
third base. We've already talked about Bryson Stott also proving that he's a Gold Glove caliber second baseman. So we're talking all the infield. We just mentioned basically the entire outfield, except because Nick just needs to maintain what he did last year.
Yeah, Nick's fine.
Yeah, keep the same level.
Whatever.
Yeah, basically all around fielding
the
is going
defense
to
is going to be a
improve.
lot,
Much better defense.
lot better.
I like it.
Dr. Nighthawk, what should you get for
I don't
lunch?
know. I'm hungry.
I would say a burrito or a burrito bowl.
Today doesn't feel like a burrito day though.
I feel Chipotle like every day.
You're a Chipotle.
You are such an old person.
What's wrong with Chipotle?
Say
Delicious.
it right.
No, that's how I say it. It's Chipotle. Chipotle.
I should have known you're a Chipotle person.
Chipotle.
I should have known. What
Chipotle.
the heck is
You're
Chipotle?
such an
Chipotle.
old
It's
person.
not Chipotle.
All right, you two say it.
Chipotle.
Nerds. It's Chipotle.
Are we the nerds?
Yes,
or
you are.
Guys, is it Chipotle or Chipotle? And Will, you did not misguess that swing. We're just, as per
about to
usual,
do
going
it.
over an hour.
I'm just trying to help Dr. Nighthawk with her
I
lunch
would
order.
go
here.
with, I feel like today, I don't know what the weather's like where Dr. Nighthawk lives because I know you're not in
She's in
Philly and you're
Denver.
in, yes, I don't
I
know what it's
believe.
like there.
Probably cold.
Probably. I know it's kind of cloudy and
You
gloomy
going
here.
soup?
I do feel like you want something warm, something that's gonna get the belly,
A
like
burrito.
a chili, not a burrito from Chipotle.
Chipotle.
A nice chili soup, maybe a soup sandwich combo. I was at Panera Bread recently, so I think maybe I'm thinking you
the
pick
soup
two.
and sandwich combo.
Yeah. Did you say sandwich?
Sandwich. Sandwich.
I thought you said sandwich.
I was gonna say something about Panera,
Sandwich.
but I'll if they want to advertise, I don't want to
or
burn
like
any bridges there.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else. Qdoba. Oh,
Qdoba's good.
Yeah.
I am a Chipotle.
Oh, she said she's gonna get Qdoba because you said Chipotle wrong. It is late.
Qdoba
Thank
is
you,
good.
everybody. Finally, everybody agrees with me on something, and it's against Jamie because
Chipotle.
y'all are always
There you
team
go.
Jamie.
You just did it.
Chipotle.
No, now you did it
You're
wrong.
annoying.
No,
You're
it felt
annoying.
weird when I said it the other way. Chipotle.
Have you just always called it that?
Yes.
Why do you just...
I was like OG Chipotle because they opened the first one. Like one of the first ones on the East Coast was College Park, Maryland. Back in,
You can't dub yourself the OG Chipotle.
I'm one
person.
of them on the East Coast.
How do you know this?
Because they opened one of their first franchises on the East Coast in College Park. I was like a couple miles down the road in DC, and me and my friends used to go, and like the line would be out the door. Like East Coast Chipotle opening, I was one of the originals.
So
We used to
the
crush
line
it.
was out the door, meaning there were other people that had already caught on.
I'm not saying I'm the
Chipotle.
first, but like I have longer ties to Chipotle than either of you two.
How do you know how
It's
far
like
back
all
our ties
half-
Because
go?
I go back to 2003 with it.
How do you know we weren't down there in 2003?
You weren't.
How do you know?
Because it didn't come up to this area until
I
much
know I
later.
wasn't down in Maryland at
Uh-huh.
Chipotle.
Yeah, and they had a Wawa next to the Chipotle in the same
Ooh.
shopping center. So it was like, it was a home run College Park, little strip mall there.
Nikki said, "This is how you guys talk from Bucks County." Y'all just do whatever you want to do. Apparently,
Chipotle.
Can
Just change
definitively
people's
say
names.
no.
Change people's names, change businesses' names. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Well, with that, I feel like Jamie, let's finally get to guess that stands. It's been trickier as of late.
Yesterday was hard. And by the way, it was John Mayberry Jr. If you missed yesterday's, I have to tweet that out because I forgot the answer. A couple people online
I
got
did see
it.
some, but
There
a
was
lot
like-
of people were wrong.
There was like 2 people that got it. Everybody else was
Is
way
it
wrong.
bad, guys?
It
And
was
I
a
was
hard
happy that so many people got it wrong.
Yeah,
And I was like,
that did make me feel
laughing
good.
at the fact that it wasn't just us that
Yeah,
was stumped by
it
it.
was a
And I
hard
was like,
one.
ha ha ha, everybody.
So who knows the score anymore? Who cares?
It doesn't matter. I'm
We're just having
losing.
fun with it, but we all know who's gonna win. All right, let's get to today's guess that stance /
man.
swing / whatever you want to call
Can't
it.
spell Jamie Edward Lynch without an L.
Oh, ooh,
Was that good? Thanks. Appreciate it. Give myself a pat on the back.
real.
I see some distinct features here.
thick thigh,
I'm not saying them out loud. This is not a collaborative
upper
effort. It
body's
could be
really
one.
back in their stance. Clearly a right-handed hitter.
Cannot wait for the portion of this game where you talk yourself into it being a lefty. Can't wait.
This one's pretty clear
I
to
don't
me.
know though, Jamie. The left foot's in the front.
You do what
But-
you want there with left-handed. I'm gonna text you mine, Tyler.
The left,
What?
the
You
left
got it
foot,
already?
The left foot is definitively in the front. I will tell you that.
Okay, wait. I see some things that have me a little bit interested.
I'm just gonna go with my gut.
I just feel
I'm
like
not gonna torture
you should be
myself.
able to answer the question of is this a current or a former?
No, I'm
I
not.
just feel like
No, I
I think
think
there
that-
should be a level of basic questioning that we're allowed to ask.
I disagree.
Like, can you confirm it's a
John
righty?
Foley will be joining us on Friday, but please check out his piece on allphly.com. Great piece on Rhys Hoskins up in great John fashion.
Maybe I should just.
Do you
sing
think
again.
Chris would go? He wouldn't go Rhys on us because that's too surface level.
I'm also genuinely curious looking at this silhouette. Is that bad? Is that bad about the break?
It does kind of look like
it looks like he's about to break his bat.
At point of contact there.
Wait.
I texted you mine, Tyler.
Oh my gosh! What?
It's not Dickie Thon, but Dickie Thon did go to Milwaukee after his Phillies career.
All right, Jamie's answer is
Oh my
locked in.
gosh.
I don't love it. My answer, I'll be honest.
I don't even know who to say.
But was
Ooh, I'm gonna text
wait.
you. I'm gonna text you.
wait? I'm gonna
text you.
I'm gonna withdraw my answer actually because I don't think he was here in 2000. Was he in here in 2006? I have to look that up.
I don't know. I want to say maybe not. If he was, it was his last year.
Yeah, so I have to withdraw my answer. I'm gonna go back.
No, he was here in 2006.
Oh damn. Only had 230 plate appearances in 2006.
All right, Renee's answer is locked in.
And correct. I'm feeling pretty confident on this one.
Oh, are you?
I am. Wait. I am. Oh gosh.
I don't like my answer. I know it's wrong.
Are you sticking with
I'm
it?
not
Or
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
just
gonna
gonna
stick
stick
with
with
Everybody in the chat is saying so many different names, and I'm not changing mine.
Is it a
All right.
catcher?
No, it's not a catcher.
Then I'm wrong.
Oh
No,
my
you
gosh.
both
Oh,
guessed
yes.
former.
Wait, do we have the same answer?
No, you don't. You both guessed former players.
I
Okay, have you heard
Jamie,
a correct
it's-
answer?
No,
Oh crap.
not a single person got this right today.
Wait, what?
Not a
even in the chat?
single person got this right today.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on.
No,
hold
you don't
on.
get a second guess.
I feel like we collectively as a group should get a second guess.
Not a single person got this right today.
I guess
Wait,
Mike
what?
Lieberthal for the record. Bad job
I
by
guess
me.
Rhys because actually I've seen
I don't think
Rhys
he's
look
tall
like
enough for
that.
Rhys.
He's not stocky enough or the
Here's what I'll say. I will let you two come
Dang
to a
it.
team third answer. It's a collective third answer since everyone has gotten this wrong today.
What?
I will allow you two to come up with one additional answer.
Okay, wait. Jamie, what are we thinking here? Well, this is not a current
It's not
player.
a pitcher, is it?
It's not a pitcher.
It's
no.
not a current player, I don't think. I think it's an old head.
Can we get infield or outfield out of you?
Yeah, I feel like we need some hints.
Since we've already
This is why
lost.
I need a name bank.
It's not Burrell. It's not tall enough.
No, it's not Freddie Garcia. Spiral out.
I don't think it's Greg Dobbs.
What?
Sal Fasano. No. Will. It's not him. I don't think it's Chris
What
Coast either.
about-
'Cause Chris Coast was tall, and it's not
There's a
catcher.
lot of Chris Coast answers in
Did
this
we
in the
already
chat today. It's not
do-
Chris Coast.
Oh no, he's
It's
lefty.
a big left thigh. I know. That's what I
The
keep looking at.
Yeah, that's
And it's not Gene
Wait, and
Segura.
is that something in his back right pocket?
Could
Yeah.
be.
Batting
Like
glove.
who would have a glove? And he kind of looks like he's got
Could be a glove.
short legs.
It could also
short,
be-
stumpy-ish legs.
Guys, it could also be a sliding glove.
Okay.
Could be.
And then he doesn't seem that tall though.
No.
But I feel like there's hair there.
I don't know.
Wait, is it a current player?
I'm not answering these questions anymore.
Oh my gosh, it's not. It's not Brandon
No.
because he's way
He's a
skinnier and
lefty.
lankier, and he's a lefty. Who's a righty that had some hair?
Come on, chat. Help us out
Dang
here. We're
it.
dying on the vine.
You still have it. Yeah, the waist, but he's like stockiest legs, but his neck's kind of.
It's not Pedro Feliz,
wide.
is it?
No.
He's not that lanky.
Abraham Nunez?
Also, no.
Wait, okay. Have you heard a correct answer now?
Still haven't heard the correct
What?
answer.
Polanco.
Nope.
I'm just gonna read off every former Phillies player.
All right, I told you, you guys get one more guess as a team.
All right, we're done.
And that's it.
I don't even. It doesn't matter. You didn't hear a correct answer.
Trying to think. It's not like something stupid like Colby Clemens or something.
No.
Is it?
I don't have an
Outfielder?
answer.
I'm not giving you these
Oh
answers.
my God, you're
failing.
terrible. You've been awful game show host.
Aaron Rowan.
Fired Tyler as the game
All
show
right,
host.
here's your answer.
Oh my
Uncle
God.
Larry.
Wow, I feel like I was just reading something about him recently. What the heck? Annoying.
Damn it.
This is getting really tricky.
Yeah.
I would like to excuse myself from this game for the foreseeable future,
I
or be allowed to cheat.
Andrew McCutcheon's
Absolutely
a
not.
weird one for me because I like forget that it happened, but I really enjoyed his time here. I always forget that he was a Philly, but it was 3 years, and I shouldn't.
Y'all are.
That was a tough one.
Joe Thurston.
Jim Thurston. Will, you got it. Andrew McCutcheon, good job.
Proud of you, Will. Some quick things to run through as we're talking about players, and not to dampen the mood, but I did want to talk about former Phillies manager and Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg, as he announced earlier this week he's receiving treatment for prostate cancer. 64 years old, talked a lot about being surrounded by his family, his loving wife, Margaret, the support that's been there, the best medical team, and how he's going to continue to be positive. So send all your positive thoughts to, Ryne at this time and his family as he's working through his cancer treatment after receiving a diagnosis last month. So not to dampen the mood at all, but wanted to make sure to take this time to send our prayers and thoughts to him. And then also on this day in history, we had 2 former Phillies that were inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Mike Schmidt?
No, I already told you Mike Schmidt was... We already did his actual anniversary of it last week.
Run it back again?
There are two Phillies that were elected into the Hall of Fame on this day. Exactly this day. Different years.
Jim Bunning.
You were right with the first name.
Jim Thome.
Jim Thome.
Yeah,
and Scott Rowland?
Yeah. We got some
Look
trivia
at
right.
us.
Yeah, Jim Thome and Scott Rowland in 2018 for Jim and 2023 for Scott.
Yes,
Just
to
a year
Ryne
ago.
Sandberg, all the best. It's one of the few things that this entire country can agree and unite on, and that's fuck cancer. So all the
Yeah.
best to you, Rhino. We're pulling for you here in Philadelphia. For Renee, for Tyler, thank you for joining us. If you haven't hit that like button, make sure you do. Check out all the other shows here on the network. There's a lot going on with each team. 2:30
Oh my
today.
gosh, so
the
much
Eagles
going
have a
on.
Sirianni and Howie Roseman press conference. Bo and Zach are going to be reacting to that after the press conference. The Flyers, it looks like the Team Canada case is coming to a head, and we'll find out very soon if Carter Hart will ever put on a Flyers jersey again. It appears a lot of speculation there. And the Sixers, obviously, there's a trade deadline coming up. Joel Embiid's the best player in the world. So we got a lot of good stuff happening
It's
here.
a great, wild time in
20
Philly.
days away from pitchers and catchers in Florida. So for all of us here at the PHLY Phillies show, thank you for hanging out with us, giving us some time and hanging out. Make sure you're checking out all the other shows at allphly.com, including some great new merch from the Flyers. And there's going to be a lot of new merch coming out. And don't forget, if you're a diehard, you get 20% off.
Okay, with the
So
plug.
we will be back tomorrow at noontime right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast.
Bye, guys.